is a huge mistake. Like, I try not to do this, and I don't do this anymore, but like, yeah. Hi, welcome back. So today I'll be unhauling some books. This is the first time that I've ever unhauled books. I should have done this ages ago, years ago. I know. The very idea of me like getting rid of books is kind of painful. So it took me a while, but I'm here, and I fully plan on like doing this on a regular basis from now on, because a lot of these books I should have gotten rid of ages ago, and I haven't. So yeah, so this hoarding of books needs to stop, and yeah, I'll be doing my best from now on. Now, the books that I'm gonna be unhauling, I just counted them. They're just like around 30, like 28 I think in total. And I've separated them in 3 piles. So the first pile is, and the biggest one, is the books that I've read and I didn't really enjoy. I'm never gonna reread those books, and they don't hold any sentimental value for me, so that I don't have any reason to keep them, because I'm not gonna reread them. They don't have any like nostalgia or anything, so I'm getting rid of those. And the second pile is books which I have a second copy of, which I just want to say, I don't buy multiple copies of the same book. Like I only have like 1 or 2 books which I've bought a second copy of, and there was always a reason for that. But a couple of years ago, my husband wanted to surprise me for my birthday, and he went on to my Goodreads, and because I always like have a TBR based on of the month that we're in. So he went on to my TBR for that month, and he bought all the books on my TBR. But he kind of didn't realize that I had put those books on my TBR because I already owned them. He thought that it was like a list of books that I wanted, so he got me all those books, and I already had them. So that was a bit of a mishap, and I ended up with doubles of some books which I already had. And yeah, so I'm getting rid of those. Not the gift ones, but the ones that I had bought before. Not that I can really tell them apart, but anyway, we're just gonna pretend that I'm getting rid of the ones that I had bought for myself and not the presents. So and the final pile, which is like the smallest pile, so that I don't feel too bad about it, are books which I bought, but I've lost interest in them ever since I bought them, because I bought them like a long time ago, and realistically I know that I'm never gonna read these books. So it's better that I should like donate them, and someone else might like enjoy them more, because I'm not gonna read them. I know that. Now, without further ado, let's get started with the pile which is of the like doubles, the duplicate copies that I have. It's a very self-explanatory pile, because I don't have anything against these books. I already have this. So the first one is Blood Song by Anthony Ryan. I'm keeping my other copies of these books, so at some point I can read them. Legend by Marie Lu. I've already read this. I'm not sure if I'll be continuing on with the series, but I just don't need 2 copies. Even if I continue on with the series, I don't need 2 copies of the same book. The next one is Falling Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. I've already read this as well, but again, I don't need 2 copies. The Thief, I've read this one. It's a great book. I highly recommend it. But I haven't finished the series. Like, I've read the first 3, I think. Shadow and Bone, I've already read it, but I have the shiny set, the new one, and I got this one for really cheap ages ago, and then they did a reprint with the new like covers, and I only had like the first book in the original cover, so I got the set, and I have a double now. So Clockwork Prince by Cassie Clare, I already have like the set, because it was cheaper getting the set than it was like buying the books one by one. And the final books in this pile are the Ember in the Ashes books, and I'm not unhauling them because I didn't like them. I absolutely adore them. This is one of my favorite series of all time, but my copies do not match. So look, obviously, like, I have a paperback, and then I have the 2 hardcovers, but they changed the covers for the 3rd book and the final book, and they don't match with the previous ones. So I plan on getting I've already ordered a matching set of these books because the final book is coming out later in December. So I'll have a matching set, and I can give these to my friend because I think a friend of mine is going to be very interested in these, and so if she wants, I'll give them to her. So this was the pile of books which I had duplicates, so I'll definitely be giving away those. Next up is the pile of books which I've read but I didn't enjoy, or I just don't see any reason in me keeping. We're gonna start with Secondborn by Amy Bartol. So I read this a few years ago. This is the first in a series. I really don't remember much except that it was like this dystopian world, but it wasn't anything memorable. I definitely won't be continuing on with the stories, so there's no reason for me to keep this copy. Next up is The Witch's Kiss by Catherine and Elizabeth Core. I read this earlier this year, like I think a couple months ago. I definitely did not enjoy it. I think it was a very kind of simplistic story. I wanted to like it because I love this author duo's new series, Throne of Swans, but this one, their debut, just wasn't for me. I think it was intended for a younger audience because like everything felt a little bit not immature, but like the main character was definitely, I don't know, I didn't really enjoy it, so I'm definitely not going to continue on with the series. Next up we have Winter Song, which is a book that I DNF'd twice. Yep. I think I've read like half of it. The premise of it sounded absolutely amazing. Like I thought that I was gonna love this book because it follows like the Elf King and like the Goblin King, sorry, not Elf King, the Goblin King. The main character goes like underground and stumbles upon this whole new world of goblins and just magic, and like the beginning of the book, I think it's so the beginning of the book was quoted The Goblin Market, which is an amazing poem by Christina Rossetti. So I thought like with that beginning and that premise that it was going to be amazing. Instead it was extremely boring. It was just extremely boring. So there are 2 books in this series. I couldn't even finish like the first one. I started, like I gave it my all. I tried to read it twice because like the first time I thought, okay, so it wasn't the right time, or like I just wasn't in the mood for this, and then I tried the second time and it was so boring the second time around, so I DNF'd it twice. I'm definitely not gonna read it, so yeah. Next up we have the first 2 books in the Conquerors Saga by Kirsten White. So I read the first book, And I Darken, and I also have the second book, but I'm not gonna read it because I really did not enjoy this one. So basically this story follows a female reimagining of Count Dracula during the Ottoman expansion of the Balkan Peninsula, and I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy the main character. I know that this series has a lot of fans. I'm sure that whoever picks these up after me, after I give them away, might enjoy this series. It just wasn't for me. I really did not enjoy the main character. I did not enjoy the love story. I don't know, maybe I had wrong expectations going into this, but it was just not the book for me. Next up is gonna be probably the most controversial of all these unhauls, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of people are gonna hate me for this, but I'm unhauling the what was this, Darker Shades of Magic trilogy by V. Schwab. Okay. So this is a very, very well loved series, and something in V. Schwab's writing doesn't click with me. I've read 4 of her books now and I didn't enjoy any of them. I read this whole trilogy. Like, you're gonna ask, why did you read the whole trilogy if you didn't enjoy the first book? And I thought it was gonna get better, if I have to be honest. And like the thing is, I absolutely adore the world. I fully recognize that the world building was top notch, the writing was great. It's just that I didn't care about the characters at all. The only characters I cared about were Rai and Alucard, but Kel and Lila, and like the whole story is centered around Kel and Lila, and I hated them both. I really did not enjoy them. And I loved Holland, for example. I loved Holland, I loved Rai, I loved Alucard, but the story was not about them. The story was about Kel and Lila, and I didn't care about them at all. At all. I didn't care what happened to them. It was just, yeah. So while I recognize that the world building was great, the magic system was amazing. It was brilliant. The story was interesting. I just didn't connect with the characters, and since I didn't connect with the characters, I'm never gonna reread these books. So I still think they're good books. They're just not like my favorites. They don't hold any kind of sentimental value, so I'm never gonna reread them, and which means that it's better for me to give them away. Next up is a contemporary novel called What You Want by Bridget Kemmerer. I read this one. I didn't enjoy it. Bridget Kemmerer's books, I've read a fair share of her books, and they're always a hit or miss with me. The ones that I like, I love, and the ones that I don't like, I really don't like. And this one was like kind of, I don't like it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Like, there is no objective reason why I shouldn't like it. But Bridget Kemmerer's books in general are very, like, they have very emotional moments and very, like, characters with very human problems. Her writing style is very simple. Like, she uses a lot of like very short, concise sentences, so the writing is very, very easy to get through, and the dialogue is like good. But the thing is, if you don't click with her characters, or like if you don't feel their pain or whatever, basically the story is like meh. So it all depends on like the situation that she puts her characters in and the characters themselves. And for some of her books, this has worked out for me perfectly, like Letters to the Lost, for example. I adore this book. This one, not so much. So I read it, it was good, nothing wrong with it. It's just, I'm never gonna reread it, so yeah. Moving on to a completely different story. So this is a contemporary romance book by Sophie Kinsella. It was called The Gatecrasher. I really did not like this one. It's just, it wasn't a memorable story in any way. I really did not like it. It was just, I think I gave it 2 stars. So I think Sophie Kinsella has better books than this one. This one was just meh. I read it a few years ago. I really do not remember what it was. I think it was centered around this woman who crashes, not weddings, but like funerals, and kind of takes advantage of the people there, which in and of itself is a horrible premise. I mean, yeah. So anyway, I didn't like this one at all. Next up, we have the 2 books, the first and the second book of the Tierling, Queen of the Tierling series. I already kind of got rid of my copy of the 3rd book. I read these 2, and this series has, I think, the worst ending of any series I've read. And I've read a lot of like series that end badly, but this one, the ending felt cheap. It felt, I'm not gonna spoil it or anything, it was just the kind of ending which invalidates the whole story that came before that. Like, that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. And I loved these 2 books. I hated the final book, and so I'm never gonna reread them, because I know that the way they end is not like the way this story ends is not something that I want to do to myself a second time. So I'm never gonna reread them, even though these books, these 2, the first 2 books, are really great. I would recommend them, but the story ended in such a way that I don't think anyone can be satisfied with the series as a whole. Not a simple case of, oh, but I don't like how it ended. No. Like, the ending was bad. It's not about like, oh, this character didn't end up with who I wanted it to, so I don't like the series. No, that's definitely not what I mean. I mean, it was the kind of ending which really made the whole story before that absolutely unnecessary. But anyway, so yeah, I'm unhauling these. Next up we have a high fantasy novel. This is Shadow and Betrayal by Daniel Abraham. I read this, I don't know, a long time ago, and I remember that even when I read it, I didn't like it, and I'm definitely not gonna reread it. I have no idea what this was about. I really do not remember anything about this story, but yeah, I know that I'm never gonna reread it. I'm never gonna continue on with the series. It's just this copy was like gathering dust on my bookshelf, and I really need the space for something else. Besides, I'm pretty sure that other people might enjoy this one, especially considering that this author, he's like, from what I know, don't quote me on this, but this author is part of the author duo who wrote The Expanse, you know, Leviathan Wakes and like all these books, which are highly popular. So, you know, someone might enjoy this more. So the next book is Ashante, which is the first book in a duology, I think, and this one ended in such a way that it kind of completed the whole story, so it could be read as a standalone, but I just thought it was mediocre. Like, everything about it was mediocre. It's a self-contained story, in my opinion. Like, I honestly don't see what else the author could write in this world, because like everything got resolved, and even if it had ended on a cliffhanger, I don't think I would have read the second book. So I'm giving this copy away. I really did not like it. I mean, I couldn't say that there's anything wrong with this story. It's just that I found it boring. That was it. It was boring. Didn't care for it. And yeah, I'm definitely not reading the second book. And the final two books that I have here are the... I don't know if like this series has a name, but like I call them Grace and Fury. So I read the first book, and I already owned the second book. So the story behind this is the following. I started reading the first book and I absolutely loved it. Like, I think I was 50 pages in and I was like, this is great, this is amazing, I'm definitely gonna love this book. So the next day when I went to work, went to the nearest bookstore and got the second book, because I was sure that I was gonna finish the first book like that same evening, and then I wanted to jump into the second book straight away, which is a huge mistake. Like, I try not to do this, and I don't do this anymore, but like, yeah. I had a little mishap with the footage, it got corrupted, so I had to reshoot this last part of the video, which kind of explains my change in attire, change in makeup, and like the lighting, because it's a completely different day. So I've only got a few books left in the final pile. I'm gonna start with an arc I got for Wicked As You Wish. So I tried reading this one. I wasn't really impressed with the writing, so I'm never gonna finish it. I'm never gonna finish it. I didn't like it whatsoever. I just think that it's one of those cases in which just the author's style doesn't really resonate with me, and so I'll have to skip. This is, I don't even know like what this is anymore. Like, I got it a few months ago and I tried reading it again. As I said, didn't work out. I think it's like a retelling or something. Avalon, Snow Queen, Prince Alexei, like all these, Arizona, like all these things are kind of not related in any way. Like the Snow Queen in Arizona, and the Magical Kingdom of Avalon, and a prince who's called Alexei. So all of these like factors, like all of these elements are not something that I would personally like link together, but anyway, it might be just me. I'm not interested in this one. The next one is Honor Among Thieves. So I got this in my very short-lived space opera moment / period. So I got this when I read The Illuminate Files and then Aurora Rising. I enjoyed all of them, like all these 4 books, because like the Illuminate Files, it's 3 books, a 3-book series, and then Aurora Rising is the first book in Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman's new series. and I really enjoyed those. I just wanted to read something similar, and I got a lot of books which are like young adult sci-fi / space opera, and this was one of them, and I have since lost interest in that genre. It was, again, a very short-lived time in my life, and I've still got a few other books in that same vein which I'm gonna read before I even get to this one. And I've since moved on from that genre. It was a very short-lived time in my life, as I've already said, and just overall I don't think that this is something that I'm interested in reading anymore, and I'll pass it along to someone who might enjoy it more. And the final book in this pile is the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. This is the screenplay, obviously, and I got this back when it came out. When did it come out? 2016? And I never read it. I don't think I'll ever read it. It's got abysmal reviews. Like, I haven't heard of a single person who read this and said it was very good. No one. So I've got so many other books which I'd rather be reading, and it's just I'm not gonna read it. And I'm just gonna give it away. And that brings my first unhaul to a close. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. I'll see you next time. Bye!